All right, so we'll talk about the EU's recent ESPR and how it might affect the textile community, meaning us as fabric makers and garment manufacturers. So we'll talk about who we are. I am from Shih. Shih is a polyester manufacturer, and then we'll go into what is ESPR and also how it impacts us. Very quickly about Shih. We are a polyester manufacturer based out of Taiwan. We've been around for 50 years, with one of the largest polyester fiber makers and recycler in Taiwan as well as in Asia. We also have been in Vietnam for almost 20 years, doing the same. We have production bases, Taiwan, Vietnam, as well as China and USA, South Carolina. So by us being a long-term player in this arena, we are pretty up to standard in terms of the different sustainability certifications, such as the SBTIs, ILCAs, and CDPs. All right. So what is ESPR? ESPR stands for Eco Design for Sustainable Product Regulation. And this is a EU's commissioned regulation to making products more sustainable through product design. So by making the design better, supposedly you will get a more sustainable outcome. One example, as you can see in the slide, is Apple's charging ports. It used to be, if you own an iPhone, it's a Lightning port. And you'll notice that in the past year, it's been changed to USB-C. And that is part of the EU government's initiative to push companies like Apple, even one of the biggest companies in the world, to change their product designs into something that's more sustainable. Meaning that they pushed Apple to unify their connecting ports so that everyone uses the same. And so coming back to our approach, our topic here, ESPR makes products more sustainable through circularity, energy performance, and a variety of different environmental sustainability aspects. And we will talk about some of those aspects in detail today. So prior to the ESPR, most sustainable certifications in the textile community are by private entities. And you would have heard people like BlueSign, Hague Index, Ocotex, BRS Global Recycle Standards hosted by Textile Exchange, among others. After the ESPR come into view, you will have more government regulations that is going to require brands, and also as long as you are selling in the EU community, EU member countries, you have to abide to these laws and regulations. Just like Apple, they have to make changes on their products. The ESPR covers a very handful of different industries, not just textiles, but it also covers the iron, steel, aluminum, furniture, tires, chemical industry, among others. But for us, textile is one major sector that the ESPR will start to regulate, which includes garments and footwears. So let's take a look at how ESPR affects the textile industry. So Vietnam exports about 3.4 billion euros into the EU in 2021. So I don't have a newer number, but I'm sure the number will already grew over the year. It's 3.4 billion is quite a lot in any economy. And as you can see, all these 3.4 billion into the EU market will be affected, will be regulated under this ESPR. And that's something important for us, textile community, to think about. So the ESPR officially aligns these requirements, these values into the product design. They're namely that uses less energy to be more durable. They need the products to be easily repairable or recycled. Fewer substances of concern or RSLs. It should include more recycled content and overall a lower LCA, our carbon footprint. And how does it affect textile industries for us? Here is what Seiya, or what we believed would affect us most. Because why did I not circle up that lose less energy? Because us as manufacturers, we're always seeking for less energy usage already. Because to save cost, we are pretty good at managing cost, and using less energy means reducing cost. So we're pretty good at that, in my opinion. But to face the new ESPR, I think I circled the three: durability, easily repairable, and more recycled content. In this case, durability, better, in our opinion, better performing synthetic fibers. One example would be polyester fibers. It's probably more abrasion resistance, has more tenacity than a cotton fiber, for example. Easily repairable monomaterials could be easily recycled. We also have different zipper companies such as YKK making zippers more repairable or modularized as well. More recycled content is what we will talk a little bit more about today. As more recycled content, a lot of you already, including us, already make fabrics out of recycled bottle polyester. But going forward, the bottle is taking the bottle back into their own industry. The ESPR also regulates the bottle industry or the beverage industry. But for us, there'll be less bottles available to use. That means to enhance a closed loop circularity, a textile to textile fiber is quite important here. Now, in September 2023, the Textile Exchange recommended to the EU that by 2025, at least 50% of all goods sold, textile goods sold, should be recycled. This includes the bottle recycle or textile recycled, and of which 20% needs to be textile recycled. And this figure improves in 2030, where it's 70% recycled, and out of which 20% needs to be textile recycled. Keep in mind that these numbers are not final. They are still being discussed and being reviewed by the EU Commission. But these are usually based on past experience. They would be pretty close to what the Textile Exchange panel is proposing or suggesting to the EU Commission. So this could be something big that would impact our industry. Now, given that there is a regulation coming, and there's a regulation that requires more textile content, and us, Seiya, as fiber manufacturers and suppliers, we feel that we have the need to help the community to have better prepared for these kind of changes. So that's where we want to share with you about our Feedstock adaptive solution in terms of textile to textile recycling. It's a fancy name, feedstock adapted solution, but this is what it's saying is matching the feedstock with the most appropriate recycling methodology. As you know, not all feedstocks are created equal. There are easier to recycle feedstocks such as the grage, and also there are cutting scraps, which is post-industrial recycled goods. And then there is the mixed material, mixed fibers, or post-consumer garments, which requires full chemical recycling. Here at Seiya, we have all three. We have all three types of recycling methodology. In thermomechanical, we have been doing that for past 10 years. We're also doing that in Vietnam. Semi-chemical is what we're currently commercializing. And full chemical is what's coming into stage. A lot of you'll be hearing a lot of this full chemical approach in the community. It's always in the news, and among different investment firms. It is a big topic right now. But here at Seiya, we're saying that all three are pretty important. We shouldn't just focus on one of the three, but we should focus on all three and have the feedstock being adaptive to what's most appropriate. Because some of them are low carbon, and the full chemical obviously has a very high carbon footprint. So we are tier three, which is a fiber supplier, and tier 3.5 is pretty new term. Tier 3.5 usually refers to the chemical recyclers that depolymerizes and polymerizes the plastic or the incoming feedstock. And tier 4 is the supplier or the feedstock providers. This can be in the post-industrial recycled arena. This can be tier 1, your cutting scraps. Tier 2, your quality reject fabrics that's sitting in your stock. This can all be tier 4s. Like I said, the tier 3.5 usually just means in the community usually just means the recycling technology. Can be mechanical, semi-chemical, full chemical. But Seiya's approach, we believe that 3.5 should be more, which includes all the process, the pretreatment, the aggregation, the sorting that involves in the recycling process. Think back to what recycling, the number one rule of recycling is separation of your waste. We do that. We get teach in schools that we should put plastic bottles into one bin, paper into another bin, and metals into another bin. That's the number one rule, first step for all recycling. But in the past, textile is not, it does not have a bin for textile because the technology wasn't there to process textile. So textile in the past has been put in the bin of general waste. And general waste usually gets into incineration or landfill and does not get recycled. But with technology advancements, including Seiya is included, among other stakeholders in the community, with the availability of textile to textile recycling technology, we are able to recycle textile with a separate bin. But into that bin, we believe we need to sort them, and we also need to pre-treat them, including to separate cotton from polyester if it is a polycotton product. Polyester from spandex if it is a polyspandex product. So this is all part of our so-called feedstock adaptive solution. Like I said, it then allows us to put the best feedstock with the right technology. So this is to show you the different footprint for using different feedstock into, for example, a semi-chemical process or a mixed material post-consumer garments should put into a full chemical process. Yeah, so that's us in a nutshell. We believe that we should match the feedstock with the most suitable recycling method. And we're happy to engage with you if you have any questions, if you have something you'd like to share, or if you believe that you have some polyester feedstock that needs to be renewed, and we can start. We're happy to start this conversation with you.
Thanks, Mike. Very spot on conversation, as he said, about this one. I learned a lot from you today, especially new term tier 3.5. Is it really new,
It
Nicole?
is a new
First time
term.
ever.
It is a new term even for us, but it is a term that is recognized and coined by the Textile Exchange. They actually have an official definition for the 3.5 tier.
Very, very interesting. So I saw some question on the chat. Thanks a lot for very insightful. And also I would like to add up some point so that you can formulate your answer in structural ways. You share about the ESPR as a move from like an initiative to really regulated by European. And how about US on that aspect? And John Kennedy also said that great insight, thank you. What's the source or reference where you found the figure for the 25%, 20% recycled textile requirement? So that is about the first part. And the second part, when you talk about the feedstock adaptive solution, tier 3.5, so interesting. You mentioned about you have a thermomechanical recycling in Vietnam, which can work textile to textile for grind, meaning very clean polyester. Can you elaborate more on that? What about capacity? Do you need feedstock for that? Because this seems to have the need to connect with you on that. Over to you. And other question, please put on the chat box and we will take the question in the chat box first and we will do open mic. Thank you.
Yeah, and I figured that the question might come up about the percentage of what the Textile Exchange proposed to the EU Commission. Like I said earlier, it could change, but I actually have this appendix here. I'm happy also to share the full disclosed textile exchange suggestion proposal to the EU. But here you can see it in the original context. By 2027, that's where the 50% recycled content, and out of that, 20% should be textile, which is 10%. And by 2030 is 70 and 20. So I'm happy to share the original links and the full article of what's suggested to the EU. Again, this is not official. It is official suggestion, but it is not official as a regulation yet. It has to go through discussion and review process by the EU Commission boards. So I hope that answers the question. I think the second question came up was anything in the USA. I know the European Union is usually the one that's moving ahead in these kind of sustainability engagements. Like the example I used earlier, it is even though Apple is a US company, but it is the EU that's pushing Apple to change from Lightning into USB-C ports. However, USA also got some good news, but on a state level, which is California recently passed, I believe last month, passed a EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility Act. It requires that the producers or the brands that sell in the textile garments needs to start have a regulation needs to start self-regulating themselves to collect textile waste to be more recycled and easily to be more recycled and more recyclable. So that's something new on the USA side, which kind of surprised me. But then it's coming from California, so it doesn't surprise me that much. And I think was there a third question that I missed?
The third question is about your thermomechanical polyester textile to textile recycling facility in Vietnam. So can you share more about that and also capacity? And there is a need for feedstock on that.
Yeah, yeah. So the thermal mechanical recycling basically means that we just melt down the polyester. Uh, if it's a bottle, we melt down the bottle flakes. If it's polyester fiber or textile, we melt down the fibers. What's available in Vietnam is geared towards the bottle flake recycling. It is not yet adjusted for textile yet, but it is the same technology. But with fibers and textile, there's a lot more contaminants. There is also, if it's gray, even if it's grage, there is sizing that is sticky on the fabric materials that requires removal. So we haven't deployed this new technology in Vietnam yet, but that is naturally our next step because Vietnam will become one of our largest production facilities going forward.
So it's a coming, but the technology is approved and pilot already,
The
right?
technology is it's thermomechanical technology. It's just we need to do a pre-processing, so it allows us to remove the sizings on the grade materials. But that
Yeah,
is the additional equipment that we need to start building and investing in Vietnam in order
yeah.
to make it commercialized. But it is currently commercialized in our Taiwan facility.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Because as you said already, of course, Vietnam has a certain feedstock of that kind, gray, even with some sizing, as you mentioned. But currently, it has been used for making styrofoam fiber, which is also recycling good enough. But I would say not really to the level of bring it back textile to textile.
Yeah, for stable fibers, I think the technology is easier. It's also more mature. But for filament extrusion in polyester, that is what everybody is breaking new grounds every month, trying to make new advancements in terms of the technology.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to pick up one more question from the chat from Swan Skavi. She mentioned about the polyester with some spandex. What is your solution for that, given the fact that you have both, of course, not thermomechanical, you have a semi-chemical and full chemical. So how about spandex there?
Yes. So that's happy to swing back to this slide here. That would happen in the pre-treatment process. It is not for us. In order for us to separate the polyester from spandex, we have a patented process in the pre-treatment, and it allows us to collect and gather not just the polyester part, but also the spandex part, so it can be put into renewable spandex down the road. That part, this pretreatment, it is still not commercialized yet. We only have a uh, proof of concept, and the next pilot will be built in Taiwan, and then hopefully down the road deploy in Vietnam. So it is a separate process. Some recycling technologies recycles full chemically the spandex in the full chemical recycling process, but it does not allow spandex to be recycled separately. It's just the spandex usually just go into a filter to waste in the full chemical process.
Thank you, Mike. Could you please just hold on this slide a bit because it's so interesting to look at. So, assuming you, say, or other full chemical or semi-chemical recycling lands in Vietnam, and you have pretreatment and recycling technology, what would you expect first? I mean, as a community, brand manufacturers and others work together to prepare the waste aggregation and also the sorting so that it holistically can take off.
Yeah, it does take a village, huh? Um, it does take a village because we are also very new to the textile aggregation, sorting, and pretreatment. In the fiber manufacture sector, we are a PhD. We are very experienced. But in terms of 3.5, collecting, sorting, and pretreatment, we need everyone's help and also assistance. If you have expertise in textile aggregation collection, we may just go to you as our source of aggregator. Then we don't have to build our own network. If you are good at sorting, then it helps us to do our job easier. We might just outsource the sorting to you. But right now, because these technologies and infrastructure to recycle textile, remember I said textile recycling was not even a thing a few years ago. It's just been incinerated. So it's very new for all the players in the market. So if you have a different expertise, we would love to explore and talk to you because you are in Vietnam. You understand the infrastructure, the network a lot better than we do. But we do what we can in terms of pretreatment and recycling. Actually, we will do quite a lot of investment in sorting as well. We are starting to utilize robotics, automation, and AI to help us advance our sorting. But we're happy to work together with your expertise on the ground, especially in Vietnam.
Mike, thanks a lot. I would say that you speak for the advanced chemical recycling community for that one. Yeah, because it is a job of enhancing the waste management infrastructure in Vietnam to be connected with you. And also so great to listen to the idea that you already investing not only in recycling technology, but also in sorting because in Vietnam it's still quite manual. Yeah,
It
good to hear
is. It
about
is.
that.
That's why, in order to complete the feedstock adaptive solution that we're proposing, we will need to do that uh, either by ourselves or together. But I think together we will do more.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I would like you to say a little bit more. It's late in US, but there are questions to come. I think that Hằng mentioned about that. Could you elaborate more about Vietnam has been doing in recycling in Vietnam? But you already shared that. I will be back with you, Hằng, on that because it already been shared. And Chan An Hoi said, currently advocating to use less plastic product become higher and higher. You will see that it moves. And is there any impact to reach the target of ESPR due to not enough plastic feedstock? Oh, competing between bottle to bottle and textile to textile.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the bottle industry, I think the regulation is by 2025, all the bottles sold in the EU member states needs to have 25% recycled content, and by 2030 needs to have 30%. So it is already moving a lot faster than the textile. Remember, textile is 2025 is maybe 10% only. Sorry, 2027 is 10% only. So the bottle industry is moving a lot faster, but are we going to run out of bottles? In the long term, yes, but I think that we have some period for transition, and it makes sense to have a bottle and fiber hybrid in the meantime, because then we can maintain the quality better and keep the cost lower while we build our own textile infrastructure along the way. I think the regulators are also aware of this, that they will give us some time, but not too long time, for us to catch up to the bottle industry.
Yeah, that would be a long story with more the competition. The last question to you, and over polyester, Như Yi from Fortunate, she asked if you could share anything about the solution for CVC. Is a blend between cotton and polyester.
Can we separate that? Theoretically, yes, we have a proof of concept already in Taiwan. So theoretically we can, but it's not commercialized. The technology is there. We just need to scale it up. But yes, CVCs or TCs, we can successfully separate it and collect the polyester for recycling. And the cotton can be recycled either back into cotton or paper pulp, making down the road.
Yeah, and I would like just to take the last one from Chum. Thanks, Mike, for very informative and insightful sharing. Tiffany too. So the California Senate Bill 707 regulation, do you anticipate the countrywide regulation apply in other states and regions? Oh, that is a really big question.
You're referring to the EPR from California recently?
She mentioned the Bill 707, maybe the one you talk about the
Yeah,
extended
yeah.
EPR. Yeah.
Well, would it extend to other states? I think it's a matter of time, yes. If all states, I'm not so sure, but definitely states that are more traditionally more sustainable, conscious, um, maybe I'm guessing maybe Oregon, Washington, Colorado. Traditionally, these states have more leniency into sustainability acts. But yes, California pulled the first trigger. I think this is a positive thing for the environment. And kudos to the lawmakers for pushing this through.
Thanks a lot, Mike. It's really insightful discussion, and thanks a lot, audience, for bringing the question and the conversation into this one. I would say that I remember from the number, minimum 20% of textile to textile recycling. And I would say there is action. You talk about at your end so much with technology development and bring it to commercial. And in Vietnam, we look at preparing or enhancing the waste infrastructure, and also not forgetting that there is a domestic mechanical recycling community. So at CIZ, together with MPI, we piloted our mechanical textile to textile recycling, and this one is 31%. 31%
Wow.
textile to textile. Yeah, and I'm incredible have I mean experience for that, because it bring a vivid example that we need to take action on that. And thanks a lot, Mike, for your really wonderful discussion. I hope
Thank
that
you.
we
Thank
will
you.
be back. You will be back with more update on the readiness in Vietnam.
Happy to do so. Thank you
Recycling.
very much.